Peter, I understand you have some tips for success. Maybe you can share them with us today.
Sure. Mike, I guess one of the questions that people ask me everywhere I go is, what do you do? What do you do to be successful? So I thought that what I do is I just jot down a few things, that I kind of do every day that maybe seem a little bit different than the normal daily life. So one of the things I do is I make up my MITs. And I call it, that's my most important thing. And I list every single evening before the next day the important things I want to get done that day. And I just carry them around with me on a piece of paper. And I find that focuses me, to get that done. And sometimes if I only get the 6 things, actually usually I try and stay with the 6 most important things, because there's usually 100 things you need to do. But if you can do the 6 most important things, and sometimes it might be as much as a phone call, but write them down so you get them. So I call those my MIT. So that's one tip that I do every day. Another one is in a life that we have nowadays, it's a highly stressful life. And you can find yourself in stress situations a lot of the time. So what I do is I've got what I call my zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. I usually live in zone 1, which is hyperactive, running 1,000,000 miles an hour like and I had about 3 cappuccinos too many. That's my normal everyday zone 1. That's where I usually am. Well, zone 2 is a little bit lower. Excuse me, a little bit lower, down like about halfway, where you're pretty active, but you're not so vibrant. Then there's zone 3, which are almost comatose. I'll give you an example. When I walk into an airport, I take myself into zone 3 because it's such a stressful place for me. I mean, I could yell and hit everybody I see sometimes. The ticket people, the passengers, the people who are pushing ahead of you in the line, all that. So if you can apply that to your daily life, to say, get into zone 3, get into zone 3 when you can knock a lot of stress away. So that's another little tip that I have: zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. So the MITs, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3. Another one is have a plan for your day. There's a saying that says that if you don't have a plan, you will probably be part of somebody else's. So, because they got a plan, and all of a sudden you wonder why you don't get your stuff done, or why don't you ever achieve any of your goals. It's because you didn't have a plan to do that, and you got sidetracked, you got waylaid. So have a plan and don't be part of somebody else's plan. Be part of your own plan. Have a plan each day. Another thing that I do, people have told me that is one of my habits, is I say yes to everything, and I kind of work my way to no. So when people tell me something, I believe them. If they say, I got the best investment you've ever seen, I say, great, show it to me. And can I see you and talk to you about something good? Yeah, great. I keep myself very approachable, very open, and I work my way to no. And usually, by being open and saying yes as up front, you're open to all kinds of things coming. You're an open person. People bring you stuff, and they come bearing goodies all the time. You can always work your way that if it doesn't fit your particular palate, what you need, well then you can say no later on. Not start with no. I always, Rita and I have, we had a great discussion sometimes, because I say, honey, you're just negative. Don't be so negative. Usually she's right. I won't do it. Half the stuff I won't do it. But I say, don't have that approach. Have a yes approach, not a no approach. So that's a tip. Have a yes approach. Okay. Back in my Century 21 days, I've always been passionate about trying to find out why some people are successful and why they aren't. Why are some people looking through the open window of that fly story that I told, and others bang against that closed window? What are the reasons? We found by really going through a lot of people's habits, successful people's habits, that there's a commonality in success. And I call the commonalities my AMCs. Successful people have great attitudes. Their attitudes are great. Successful people are motivatable. And successful people know what commitment is. So I call it my AMCs. And literally, Mike, when I'm interviewing anybody, I always look at their AMCs. When I'm thinking of doing business with somebody, any relationship that I have, is what are those people, how are their AMCs? How is their attitude, how is their motivation, and how is their commitment? And there's not a day goes by that I don't kind of use that little formula. There was a saying that says there's consummate genius within all of us. But it's the recognition of that genius within you that either holds you down to mediocrity or takes you up into huge success. The recognition of the genius is what does it. The genius is within all of us. It might be like a mountain with a bunch of gold in it. You know, the riches are in the mountain. They're there. But until somebody comes along and opens up the mountain and looks at the gold, it's just another mountain. You're the same way. Until you recognize the genius you have, Mike, then you don't have it. I mean, it doesn't appear that you have it. It's like the mountain doesn't have gold until you open the vein up. And so you have got to recognize the genius within you. And that's one of the things that I have to remind myself quite a bit, because I do some stupid things that geniuses don't do. But you still have to recognize that. And so celebrate that. I think the last point that I make at this point, we go on forever, you know. But I think one of the last, I try to pick the most important ones on, is mentorship. Mentorship. I literally have mentorship for my Harley Davidson. You know, I got a guy, the Chaz man, I call him. You know, and if I'm going to ride, he just bought me a motorbike. He just bought me a Screaming Eagle. You know, and he researched all over the place. And I know that when I told him I wanted a bike, he knew exactly the bike that I should get. Saved me all that time, and he knows better than anybody in the world goes. So he's my motorcycle mentor. Well, you know, you can have a reading mentor, you can have a writing mentor. So throughout your life, you should surround yourself with people that you can learn from. And one of the ways you deserve to have those people around you is by being able to give them something. But you yourself be able to give them something of you, you know? And so really when I was starting off in business, I learned this mentorship idea. And I didn't know anybody. You know, I didn't have many mentors around me because I was young and just starting out, and like a lot of us do. And I was looking through a book. There used to be a very famous Canadian photographer called Karsh. And he took pictures of very famous people, you know, Muhammad Ali and Mother Teresa. And I was thumbing through this book of famous black and white pictures, and they somehow resonated with me. There was a picture of John F. Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Hemingway, he was the writer. There's 2 or 3 more people in that book that I just don't recall right this moment right now. Gandhi. And I thought, why can't these people be my mentors? They're really smart. I'd love to be like them. You know, why couldn't they mentor me? And so I went out and bought books. This is we're talking 35 years ago. And I bought books from all of them, and I read their histories, all of them. And you know, as I started to go through my challenges in life, I'd think, well, what would John F. Kennedy, he was kind of my business guy. I don't know why, but he was my guy. And I'd think to myself, would John F. Kennedy be doing this? And if he wouldn't do it, then I shouldn't do it. And I would assign it, and I'd get myself a secretary. I'm doing too much of this stuff. You know, get myself an assistant manager. You know, and I would always look at that, and I remember I said, what John F. Kennedy did, what would Gandhi do if I had to resolve an issue between people? Well, what would Gandhi do here? You know, so the mentorship was very. So I call it virtual mentorship. And so the people out there who are watching this, you can anybody can become your mentor. All you got to do is learn about them.